Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Good day. Good cold, wet, rainy day.
I'm Kelly, and it is a gross Pacific Northwest day.
Nothing says Pacific Northwest more than this. Like a bit of rain that's not so much that you're like, man, it's raining, but not so little that it's like not raining. And you're just like, I'm going to get wet and it's going to be uncomfortable all day. And I won't see the sun and it's cold and there's birds, still birds.
Wow, birds.
Everywhere.
What's wrong with birds? What birds do to you?
It's just like Pacific Northwest birds. I mean, I think it's because we're
I'm
here.
pretty
at
sure
Kelly's,
seagulls
but
and crows are in more places than the Pacific Northwest.
Seagulls have to be near the sea.
No.
I
You
know.
you know why the Utah state bird is?
Is it really a seagull?
It's a seagull, yeah.
I remember being shocked driving across the country and seeing seagulls, and I was like, "This makes no sense."
They're just gulls now.
Yeah, exactly. Did you come from the sea and settle? Like, what happened?
They're angry at you, Vanessa.
I know. It's fine. We're all angry today.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that if it's cold and dreary outside, it's cold and dreary inside when you're living in my place.
Good
So
point.
true.
Yes. You need like your walls lined with insulation.
Yes. You guys, last week we were all gushing about the Harley Quinn animated series,
yes.
and that kind of made me go down the rabbit hole of Batman animated movies because HBO Max has a bunch of those on there too.
Yeah.
So I caught up with Gotham by Gaslight, which is basically Batman after Jack the Ripper.
Oh, wow.
And it's great. It's set in Victorian times, and Bruce Wayne is a millionaire who dresses up in his leather bat suit and fights criminals.
Oh, wow.
It's great. It's so much fun. But then the one that I really loved, not available on HBO Max, brand new, is called Batman Soul of the Dragon.
I need to remember this one. You mentioned it before, and I completely. Let me write
A lot
down.
of people complaining about this because they don't feel it's really a Batman movie. Batman shows up in just a couple of scenes, and it's mostly Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
But it feels like it's set firmly in 1976.
Ooh.
And the lead character is, I can't remember what his name is, Johnny Dragon or something like that. He's basically Bruce Lee. And then there's another character in there who's basically Jim Kelly from Enter the
nice.
Dragon. And they were all taught by the same Kung Fu master. And they have got to get the band back together because this evil group of ninjas is out for this one thing that they know about. And it is so 70s Kung Fu blaxploitation with Batman dropped in the middle of it that I was like, if you can't make a fucking feature film like this, what's wrong with you guys? It's so much fun. But then the reviews, all these people going, not even a Batman movie, dude. He's in it for like 4 minutes.
I always enjoyed when they spent time with like Bruce Wayne or the like Mask of the Phantasm. I remember loving.
Oh,
And
man,
that's
that
a
is
good one.
So much Bruce Wayne in it.
That was a gigantic hit when that came out at Suncoast. Man, we just sold the hell out of that.
That was one of my favorite films as a kid. Like me and my brother used to watch it over and over again. And I remember that was the only time I ever felt like I had a little mini crush on Batman. I was like, oh, Bruce Wayne. He's a man.
Not like those turtles.
Hey man, let's not bring Donatello into this, okay?
Oh my.
Well, I gotta say, I just really, really love this movie. And Eric, I know you will too, because you like those kind of movies. I also get that this is not for everybody. So if you require Batman in your films, then you're going to be a little upset. Think of this as just a really cool movie that Batman shows up in.
There you go.
And then you're like, well, what a fucking cool bonus.
So, I mean, there was like a slew of animated Batman films a couple years ago that I remember people saying were pretty bad. And I saw The Killing Joke I remember feeling like it was a bit off. But like, do you feel like things have gotten better, or have they been good the whole time?
I think the Batman animated movies are hit or miss.
Okay.
But I think that overall, the Warner animated movies, the Warner DC movies, are much, much better than their live action films.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
What was wrong with the animated Killing Joke? Why did people have a problem with that one? Do you remember?
I think it was Batgirl. Which one was the one where Batgirl and Batman are like
That's
together?
The Killing Joke.
Yeah, that was because it was like he's kind of her like surrogate uncle. It's weird that they're like banging.
It's a little racy. And I don't think that it would have flown in 1986 when The Killing Joke came out.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I felt like, oh, they're trying to be, edgy.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it needed it.
Yeah,
But there was another one where Nightwing and Harley Quinn end up
Wow.
in bed together.
Whoa.
yeah.
Whoa.
I can't remember what that one was.
Jeez. All right. That's something. I mean, way to go, Nightwing, I guess. Watch out for Joker's vengeance. He's going to be pissed. I don't know. Huh. Well, I've been watching a new series that, speaking of racy, has come out on Netflix called Bridgerton.
I've not heard of this.
You have not heard of
Isn't that
it?
the one from, what's her name that does Grey's Anatomy?
Is
Shonda
it?
Rhimes. I think it's a Shonda Rhimes
It
joint.
could be. I actually don't know, but it's kind of a Jane Austen-esque, but with actual like mixed racial casting, which is really nice to see because you never in Victorian era films get like Black people as like the queen. So that alone was very nice. It has a very Pride and Prejudice feel to it.
Yeah, the Shonda Rhimes
Okay.
production.
It's incredibly fun. It's soapy. It's good. Do not watch this with your parents. I will say that. I watched it with my mom, and there comes a point where people start to engage physically in a way men and women sometimes do.
A nudity way.
And man, they go for it, and they go hard for like 3 or 4 episodes in a row. It's too much. I spent more time staring at my hands than I have in a long time. I was just like, I don't know what to do right now. This is very awkward.
It's so bizarre right now in movies versus content from Netflix and Amazon, all that, where movies are really becoming almost sexless. There's so little, not a lot of sex scenes in films. The general nudity's removed, but Jesus, man, the shows are like,
They're like making
holy
up
shit.
for it and then some. Yeah. I mean, but it is genuinely like a fun, I don't know, like right now, life sucks for a lot of people in a lot of ways. So having this positive, fun, silly content that we can just lose ourselves into these people's dumb relationships is really nice. I just really enjoy it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Speaking of, I don't know if it's quite dumb, but watch the first episode of Warrior.
Oh.
Huh.
Fuck, man, it is so good.
It's really
Really?
good.
Oh my God. And the guy they cast whom I assume is who Bruce Lee would have played in the original, if they'd produced that, is amazing. He's one of those walk on screen, instant charismatic kind of guys that you're like, okay, I can watch this guy. And the rest of the cast is also pretty goddamn good.
It's really good.
And
I
they're
can't believe you're only 1 episode in, though. I just finished the
well,
first season.
Harley Quinn thing, man, just
Right.
The way they did the subtitles is
Yeah.
so smart because they're speaking Chinese most of the time, but at one point they do kind of that Hunt for Red October thing where they rotate the camera around and they start speaking English.
Sure.
But then there's the American characters. So as soon as one of them shows up, they're speaking English, but they turn around and they're speaking Chinese, and it's subtitled. It's like, and it's so well done.
Huh.
Except, are you having to sit very close to the screen? Because these subtitles are really small. At least.
How funny you say that. They are gigantic on my
Really?
screen.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Maybe you can adjust them in some settings somewhere.
Yeah, it could be.
Weird.
The Spanish one,
30 coins.
30 coins, has gigantic.
Right.
Writing something else.
Right. I wonder if maybe I did just somehow adjust it all for
That's pretty cool.
old people.
Whatever
you took the
works.
old people box in the setup process.
Now the letters just appear one at a time over the image.
Like Mr. Robot. Like, oh, wow. But smart, well done, well shot. They dumped some money into this one, and it really shows.
So the unfortunate thing is that it's a Cinemax show, and at the end of season 2, Cinemax said we are no longer creating original content.
Wow.
But apparently, it has found a new life on HBO Max, and the producers are now talking to HBO Max saying, "Hey, come on, people are seeming to love this. How about a third season?"
You got a shitload more money than Cinemax did,
Right.
at least theoretically.
Right. I watched a movie.
Huh.
Good. All right. Janet, you got anything you like?
Yeah. Oh, going on. So go on.
It was called Rambo: Last Blood.
Oh, I have.
What?
Oddly enough, I have not seen this one.
Is this the
I was
most
a little
recent
shocked.
one?
Yeah, I was a
Okay.
little shocked that I hadn't seen it also, and it's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
So it popped up, and I thought, oh, I'm going to watch the fuck out of this. And I was so confused because I kind of remember the last one.
Which was
one
actually pretty good.
before, was that the one with the religious people?
Yeah.
And there was like gore.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
were in, I can't remember where they were, that somewhere in Peru or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know, somewhere.
Because he was acting as a guide for them.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
This opens up with him on the farm in Arizona.
Mhm.
And I was thinking to myself, how did he end up back in the States? Because he's got a young girl there, his niece, that he's been taking care of for the last 10 years. And I'm thinking,
Has it been
what did I miss?
10 years?
Did I
since
miss
the
a
previous
movie
one?
between this one and the last one? Or I had no idea where it was. It's really bad. It's a bad film.
That's why I haven't.
Mm.
Part of the reason I haven't watched it, I heard horrible stuff about it when it came out.
It's just stupid. And the storyline is so not a Rambo storyline that I was thinking to myself, this would have made more sense if this was like Cobra 2 or something like that, because he's going off and he's taking care of sex traffickers in Mexico, and he's just going to go and kill them all, right?
Mhm.
But the way he gets down there and everything, and I'm not talking about the physical way, just the story that propels him down there was so fucking weird and made no sense. I can't recommend this film.
It's the last Rambo one we were just talking about was made in 2008.
So it
So
has been 10 years? Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
I was going to say, I think it's been a while because I was living in England when I saw it.
So I guess it could have been 10 years hanging out with a family when he never talked about family in any other show, and actually seemed to imply that he really had no family. But hey,
Is Sylvester Stallone still writing on these?
probably.
He's got a story credit probably because he
Yeah.
helped
Well,
all this stuff.
yeah.
I was actually looking, now that I think about it, it's not on HBO Max, it's on Prime. And I was looking for First Blood
Good
because
one.
I hadn't seen that in 20 years. And
so
that movie's amazing.
It's such
really
a
is.
great film about PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frick, man.
Especially before we were ever talking about that or taking
Yeah.
it seriously. And I just had this hankering to see that again. And instead, you can rent that for $3.99. Or you can watch Rambo: Last Blood for free. And I was like, well, shit, a new movie? I'll do that. The best part and the worst part, somehow simultaneously, the best and worst parts of this film are the end credits, where over scenes from every movie, the credits are
geez.
popping up. So you're seeing
Oh.
him hitchhiking into town in First Blood
Sure.
and all the stuff that happens
man.
there. Then you go into, Rambo First Blood Part 2, where
Sure.
he's got a rocket launcher on each arm. And it's just like, whoa, this got ridiculous really quick.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Really, really quick.
Yeah.
Helping
I
out
still
the
kind of
Iranians, I think.
That was
Yeah,
3. He
three,
was,
that's 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
when
that
he
was
was
3,
in
okay.
Afghanistan, and the
I still kind of enjoyed
Taliban.
2
Mhm.
for its insanity, but by the time 3 rolled around, I was like, oh boy. But then that one in 2008 was really solid.
It was, yeah. It was super gory, but it was,
Yeah, it was.
a really solid movie because it also
Mhm.
kind of dealt with things realistically.
Right.
You know, even though it's called Last Blood, I cannot imagine that is the end of the storyline.
If you saw how old Stallone looks in this movie,
Hey,
because they were showing, that is funny, they were showing clips from that movie beforehand,
Mhm.
and I was looking at the difference between him there and now. It looks like he's aged 40 years.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's old, but I will say, I remember when Rocky whatever came out with his like son, and he has like an argument with his
Oh,
kid.
was it Rocky 5?
Five, I think,
Are you
yeah.
talking about the... Well, the Rocky 5 is
Milo-
terrible, but then there was the...
Rocky Balboa,
Yeah, which is good.
right?
No, it was
And-
before Balboa.
Yeah, Rocky 5.
So yeah, and that was supposed to be the last one, and then Balboa came out, and that was supposed to be the last one, and then
Creed.
Creed
which
came
is a hell of
out,
a film.
and
Still
they
haven't seen two.
restarted it, which is I mean, like I like Balboa, I like Creed a lot.
Mhm.
They're good movies, but and it keeps being like, and now he's really dead, and now or not dead, but you know, like his heart isn't there, and he's basically in a wheelchair, but actually he can totally get up and like run 20 miles in the morning. So I think Stallone has a very hard time putting something away.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the next one would be something like Rambo. P.S.
I still love you. Yeah. So I also did a little bit of I actually got to my rewatch because I had for one of our, I can't remember which week it was, but I had thought I was going to watch You're Next. So I put it on my Netflix DVD order. And of course, it was during the pandemic. So that showed up 3 months later. So I got to rewatch You're Next. And I was like, man, I haven't seen this since I saw it in like theaters. I'm so excited. I remember so much I thought I remembered about this film. Man, this film is fucking gory.
Yeah.
I did not I remembered the fun bits where like she just like takes control and is badass
Right.
and whatever. All the rest of it, I had somehow pleasantly forgotten. And I was like, God, man, this film is rough. And of course, so I'm staying with my mom, and my mom, I sometimes order DVDs for her and sometimes for me. And I had ordered Underwater for her because I thought she'd enjoy it, and You're Next for me. And she mixed them up. And she watched You're Next. I wasn't there. She watched it and she texted me and she's like, what is this movie? It's very gory. She's like, I didn't enjoy this at all. It's just like, no, you're supposed to watch Underwater. You're not supposed to watch You're Next. Oh my God. She's like, I kept Underwater for you because I think you wanted to see that. I'm like, I didn't. No, I've already seen it. No, just, oh my God. Anyway, so I have to say it wasn't as good as I remembered. I don't like it as much as I remembered, but I still like that character a lot and good effects, I guess. It was hard. It was hard to sit through. I need happiness. I need happiness, and this film is not that.
It's well done, though.
It's extremely well done. It is. I just
Home Alone with true consequences.
yes, exactly. The nail through the foot. Very good.
Well, I watched a new one.
What?
Hunted. It's on Shudder.
I think I've seen the trailer.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've heard of
I've
it. Yeah.
Definitely seen the trailer and thought, huh.
Well, it's a good reaction. It is, before watching, it's kind of just looking through some stuff, and I read things that made it sound like it was going to be a werewolf movie. Because somebody compared it to Brotherhood of the Wolf and some other things go on.
And she's wearing red in the
she's got,
poster.
in the beginning, I'm watching, she's got the Red Riding Hood on and all that. It's not. There's no werewolf involved at all. It is really well acted, which helps the movie a lot, especially the lead guy is kind of bizarre and interesting to watch. There are so many bad decisions made in this movie that are so damn frustrating. And I mean, let's see, what's a good one? She's out on the town gets in the car with a guy she doesn't know after being at a club drinking with him. It's like, okay, that'll happen. You can do something stupid when you're drunk. Okay, I'm going to let that one go. So they go, and of course, it turns out they're not nice guys.
Sure.
She gets away from them, and high tension stuff kind of happens at the gas station she ends up at, but it's nowhere near as well done as high tension. And then she ends up in the trunk of a car out in the woods, and they in a car wreck. She falls out of the back of the trunk. And instead of doing the logical thing, if you fall out of the back of a trunk, you run to the back where there's no lights or anything like that. She runs right forward, right into the headlights and up the hill. And so the guy, of course, both the guys in the front survived, look at her, go, oh, look at that. She goes running off, never takes off her bright red hoodie or rolls around in the dirt. Just all the little kind of things. And she gets away for a good long time and goes to a river. Okay, we all know what you do when you come across the river in the woods. You're lost, right? You go downstream.
Absolutely.
Oh, no. She goes upstream. Just casually walking along the side of the bank, not paying any attention. And the two guys spot her, jump in the water, walk, splash, 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 bang through the water, get over to her. She doesn't notice them at all until they're like right behind. I was like, this is rough, man. This is getting kind of... If you had never really watched too many of these Lost in the Woods, Getting Hunted kind of movies, it's well done enough that it's fun to watch. It moves at a good pace. It's just sort of like, what was that movie, Terrifier or Terrified with the clown?
Terrifier.
Yeah, where they keep hitting the clown and running away like 18 freaking times in that movie. So like, this movie would be really good with that being written out. This movie would be really good and could have completely worked with her making smarter decisions and the bad guys just be smarter finding her instead of happening upon her at times. I really wanted to like this and I enjoyed it to a point, but every once in a while, and then it starts to get good near the end. It's like, oh, ranking up. All right, it's good. Okay, now I'm really frustrated with something else you just did. It's like, grr. So I'd say if you want to watch that kind of a movie, this is a good one. If you want to watch a really good version of this kind of movie, watch High Tension.
Well, I really want to watch High Tension now.
Have you not seen High Tension?
I have not.
Yeah, that one's good.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's really brutal.
Okay. Well, I heard about that film and decided I wasn't going to watch it. But I had also heard the same thing, which was that it was a Red Riding Hood analogy. So
I mean, I guess you could say that the guys chasing her were the big bad wolves, but okay.
Right.
Just because she's wearing a red hood, I guess. If she was wearing a blue hood, would people still say the same
Do they
thing?
have this is the thing that annoys me about those kinds of movies. Is there really a good reason for them to actually want her? Like to go through the effort they're going to have to go through to get her?
Well, the guy makes, seemingly is like a serial killer, makes snuff films.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so he wants her as a...
So define yourself if that's a good reason.
No,
but
I mean,
he definitely
it's
has
better.
a reason.
Usually, because I find a lot of these films, I'm like, it's not worth it, man. Just let her go. Like, whatever, you're fine. Just go have your
you will
life.
definitely have that problem with this film.
Yeah.
Well, at some point when you've captured a woman and she escapes from you, you now have to deal with the fact that, okay, if I let this person go, they are going to tell the authorities and she's got a good look at my face and all of that stuff.
Yeah, but if you're like a middling,
hypothetically,
middle height guy with like brown hair who I would assume used a fake name and is in a town that's not your hometown, you can disappear pretty darn fast. Is my theory.
You've thought about this.
I mean, it's just logical. Like, why? I mean, you don't really have to worry that like she's not going to have unless she took a photo of you. Like, what's that picture going to be? She was drunk. You put her in her trunk.
Oh, you made a rhyme.
I didn't mean to. That was an accident.
Got a lot of drunk in the trunk, if you know what I mean.
Damn it.
Shall we take a little break, you guys?
Please, let's do that.
We'll be coming back and we are talking about couples or relationships who band together to fight evil.
What makes a classic family game? Sometimes it's playing a game a whole new way, like Toss Across. And sometimes it's creating something nobody thought possible, like the Toss Across is tic-tac-toe played the three-dimensional way. 3 in a row is all you need.
Oh, Robert did it!
Meanwhile, Mousetrap makes catching a mouse a wild and wacky adventure for your family.
Mousetrap!
Toss Across and Mousetrap, 2 classic family games from Ideal.
We have returned. Eric, this was your topic choice. So why don't you start us off?
Dive in? Alrighty, I shall dive in. What shall I dive in with? Oh, yeah, I already know.
I was going to say, do you not know? Come on, man. You've had time. You picked this.
2007's Vacancy.
This isn't the interstate.
I took a shortcut.
To where?
How can I help you folks?
Do you know a garage?
Not this late. Meanwhile, I'm wide open here.
I'm sleeping in my clothes.
I'm gonna sleep in my shoes. Never should have gotten off the interstate. This looks like a real library of classics.
Can you turn that off? David? Movie's that?
I don't know.
Is that this room?
It sure looks like it.
Please, David, don't go out there.
If we stay here, we're gonna wind up like all of them. They got us trapped.
You'll never survive if you lose control, Mr. Fox.
Got the Y at the end of 2007 instead of Vacancy there. So this was, as I said, 2007.
The year is 2007.
It's
The time.
Rotten Tomatoes. I think this is a fairly accurate score. 55 by critics, 42 by the audience.
Okay.
It's pretty middle of the road.
Mhm.
Budget of 19 million. U.S. box office, 19 million. Though worldwide it made 35, so it made
All right.
some money.
You even Steven there.
Mhm.
That's right. You know, as long as you don't count a lot of things.
Right.
Marketing.
Yeah. I love the director's name. I'm sure it's not pronounced this way, but it's spelled this way. Nimrod.
Oh,
Although he's got the little, the accent over the O, so it's probably Nimrod.
Nimrod. Yeah.
Nimrod. Antle. Known for Metallica Through the Never
Okay.
concert movie
Mhm.
and Predators with an S. Plus a few
Ah.
other things I haven't heard of.
Okay.
Now I'm going to start off by saying I think the failure of this film is the director, as I list off the writer's credits and the stars of the film. The writer is Mark L. Smith, who wrote The Revenant, the Oscar-nominated one, Overlord, The Hole, and is working on the Tarantino Star Trek movie.
What? Is that a real thing?
Apparently, in some form at least.
Wow.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
But have you seen The Hole? That was a pretty good one with the kids.
Yes.
Yeah. And Overlord, of course.
Yeah, I liked Overlord. The whole, didn't Dante direct that?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. And the lead stars are Kate Beckinsale, who you've seen in God knows how many Underworld movies now,
Sure.
and is one of the lead voices of the Elder Scrolls video games.
Did not know that.
And co-starring with her husband in the movie, Luke Wilson, who you know from my favorite Wes Anderson movie, Bottle Rocket. And from my money, Wes Anderson went downhill after that. He's done some good movies.
Wow.
Ouch.
Well, it's because Wes Anderson became Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah.
And if you look at the last 3 or 4, they all look the same. They're all shot the same. They all have the same kind of sound and color design.
I will say one thing because I agree with you. Isle of the Dogs. Super good.
Adorable.
Incredibly good. The rest, agree.
I like them all. Shut up. You guys are snoots.
You do have a heart.
I think Bottle Rocket's fantastic. And the one he did after that, I actually really
Royal
liked
Tenenbaums?
No.
Oh, Rushmore.
Rushmore. That Rushmore was great. Royal Tenenbaums is fun. It's fine. The one with where he goes the Jacques Cousteau style.
Life Aquatic.
Life Aquatic. I mean, he's fun. The problem for me with Wes Anderson is he does Wes Anderson films. Like, come on, do something different.
I get it.
Anyways, Luke Olson was also in the movie of the year, Idiocracy. One, for my money, a really underrated film, 3:10 to Yuma.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that.
It's a really good Western. And Frank Whaley, the guy who unfortunately entire life will be, the what guy from Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
Say what again? That guy. He's in.
Oh.
And he's in Luke Cage. He's like 119 credits. But every time you see his face on screen, it's like, it's the guy.
He's also one of those guys that never ages.
Yeah. And Ethan Embry.
Oh.
Devil's Candy and a whole shit of stuff. So the very original storyline starts off with a married couple that aren't getting along.
No way.
They're on an isolated road because the wife was asleep when the husband took a detour. Stop me if you've heard this before. This is all carried fine because the 2 actors can handle the stuff that's given to them. It's shot very strangely. The shots in the car are almost like, you know how normally you shoot a scene of people in a car. If you do a close-up of them, the one on the passenger side's on the left and the one on the driver's side's on the right of the screen.
Right.
They're both on the same side of the screen. As it switches back and forth. I'm like,
weird.
I don't like this.
And he does weird shit with the mirrors to fill in the sides.
Weird.
It's like, okay, this is a really interesting experiment that I think you should have left on the cutting room floor and just gone back and let's shot this normal as well in case this weird shit doesn't work. The opening credits are neat looking. Kind of like, the big giant words in Mr. Robot, the way they kind of take up the screen. It's a very heavy, blocky, graphic words. It looks really cool. He took a shortcut. Car's having trouble. Yeah, one thing watching these films that really aren't that long ago, the difference between having a map and GPS.
It's a big deal. I remember printing off MapQuest and feeling like I was in the future.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they're trying to figure out where they are. Oh, was this road? I don't even see this on the map. What's going on? And they go to a gas station where a guy who's so helpful. They go on from the gas station trying to find where they are. And lo and behold, the car breaks down.
No.
But hey, they're only about a mile down the road from that gas station that had a motel next to it. Let's go back down there. So they go back down and the motel guy's like, yeah, we don't have a phone here, but we have a phone booth. I'm like, oh man, maps, phone booths, Jesus.
I didn't think it was this old of a film. Wow.
And is it Whaley? Is that how you say his name? Frank Whaley? He's freaking great in this as the weird, creepy hotel manager or motel manager. And I got to tell you, not a lot of people are going to understand what I'm about to say, but the ones who do will fully appreciate this. This motel makes the Bansfield look like a good 2.5 or 3 star.
Ooh, the Banfield Motor Inn?
Yes.
Man.
This is not a nice place. What is it with hotel rooms, phones too, man? They're just like the worst ringers in the damn world. Hey, it looks great though. Holy shit. This stuff where the car stuff looked off, the way he shot just generally, it is a gorgeous looking film. Really well shot. Really, really good design on this terrible looking room. So the guy gets bored and says, hey, I'm going to look at these. There's random videotape sitting on top of the TV. Put in the VCR and see what they are. Oh my. These look like snuff films.
Oh.
Sort of snuff films. There's no sex, but it's just killing people on camera. As he's watching him, he realizes this is the room we're in.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that scene, although good, is about 5 minutes longer than it probably needs to be. Apparently, though, on the DVD, if you're really interested, you get the whole scene of all of this films that they shot that they show brief clips of.
Great. Thanks.
So they try to find out what's going on, try to escape, and or at least look around a little bit. Then suddenly you realize it's now a home invasion movie with the killers trying to get into the room. The suspense here is actually really well done. It's a nice use of noises and things like that. I watched this with Dina, and her first comment is, maybe you guys should destroy the cameras in the room, which they find all of them, but they just leave them alone.
That's smart, because then there's no point in killing them because it's not being filmed.
Yeah. But, one thing that's interesting they do, I think, is a nice little bit, is they study the videos and figure out what's going on and realize, okay, in every one of these, somebody pops out of nowhere. They are getting into this room some other way than the doors or the windows. So they find a tunnel in the bathroom that goes down to what has to be the largest groups of tunnels underneath a motel anywhere. I mean, tributaries and all giant things. Like the main office is like 15 feet away. Where the are you guys going? But they make a big deal of looking for any weapon they want. Anything they can use as a weapon. Meanwhile, Luke's running around with one of those giant silver D-cell battery flashlights. I'm like, that would work.
Absolutely.
Those things are. When the guys figure out where they are, the bad guys running, the way they move through the tunnels is creepy as hell. It looks so cool. Like, ugh. And also goes, yeah, they've done this a lot. Luke attempts to escape at one point, and that doesn't go real well. Then, he gets stabbed. Will he live? Will he die? You'll have to movie to find out. But, as the movie goes along, the couple that was fighting, they're coming together. They're facing the evil of these killer guys.
Oh.
And with actually really kind of neat masks. Not the motel guy, but the other two killers have kind of neat masks that they work out. And other than that, it's by the book kind of. Here's people trying to get out. Oh, here's this trouble we run into. Here's that trouble we run into. Oh, that's actually not helpful. It's a fine movie of its type. I remembered liking it more than I liked it on the second viewing. But it's still pretty good. And like I said, it's shot really well. The acting is well done, considering Kate Beckinsale had an incredibly hard time working with Luke because he often showed up hungover and unprepared.
Oh, bummer.
Unprepared.
Why are you guys looking at me when you said that?
Unprepared is a proper part of that word as well.
Can I get you some eggs? Some orange juice?
Is this an intervention? What's going on here?
Do you have some aspirin, Kelly?
Bacon, sausage.
A heating pad. What can we get for you?
I could go for a heating pad, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, they advertised the film using the internet, of course, which wasn't done as much then as it is now. And they created a toll-free number you could call. And if you called it, it would actually ring at that hotel. The fictional hotel they created. And you would hear screaming in the background, and the one guy lent his voice to the promo, so the guy who's running the motel would answer the phone. So it sounds pretty fun. Apparently, it was 1-888-89-vacancy.
Oh.
But it doesn't function anymore, I guess.
Fun gimmick.
They shot the violent films the first day of shooting. So they got all the horrible screaming and crying out of the way first. The motel they stay at was built from the ground up for the film.
Oh.
And which, whoa, there you go.
Dude's next party.
So it's two entirely separate sets. There was an interior and an exterior. The director was so impressed by the work that they did to make it look like shit. He's like, the place was incredibly clean, but after being in that room all day, you felt like you needed to shower for a very long time.
Oh, sure.
I got to say, I'm okay with this recasting. The original person they were going to cast for Beckinsale's was Jessica Parker.
Oh God.
Jessica Parker?
Yeah,
I have a
Sarah
hard
Jessica Parker.
time.
Who's that? Oh, Sarah Jessica
Parker.
Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Oh,
a hard
okay.
time staring at her. She's not a fun person to look at with your eyeballs. I'm going to say that right now.
I'll leave that to the lady. And moving on. Wilson refused to stand off camera during scenes in which Beckinsale needed somebody to read lines to. Made it much harder. So they had to have some stand-in guy read the lines and do that. And eventually she got so sick and tired of that, she also refused to do that and sent in a picture of herself with a note that said, "Read your lines to this. It will be better for both of us."
Wow.
Man.
I mean, it must have been easy for them to then play the bits where they hated each other in the car.
Yes.
Just let it all out.
Maybe they shot those later.
Maybe that's why they only got the bad angles. She was like, okay, I'm done. We're wrapped. Bye.
Vacancy opened at number 4 in its first week at the box office, and then promptly dropped off 46% for weekend number 2.
Ouch.
Which is not a horrible drop, but it ain't good. And the director opted for more of a suspense style instead of any gore and groove, which works for the film. I think it would have taken away from the way the film's structured and shot if they'd had a lot of gore and violence moments. I mean, there's violence, but it's not really gory. The suspense is really good.
Is it an R or a PG-13?
It's R.
Oh, okay.
And it's still pretty brutal. It's just not gory.
I'm totally cool with that. Yeah.
Huh. But, so let down a little bit for my mental remembrance of the film, but it was a fine rewatch. I think it was like a $2 rental on Amazon or something. So plenty satisfied with watching that one. And they did grow together as the movie continued.
Very important. Very nice. Man, this was a surprisingly challenging week. I ended up with a short list, and decided that some of them just were some of the films I think Us would be a really good one for this week, but it's just too much to talk about and too much to think about. And it's a really big film that you don't want to half-ass for sure. Oh God.
So and then you half-assed another movie.
I was going to half-ass Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And then I got partway in and realized they're not brothers. Clearly not brothers. And then I looked up the synopsis while I'm watching the movie and have paid for it because it's no longer free on Netflix. Oh my God. I was so irritated. I'd already done a bunch of the work, whatever. So I changed gears last night.
Oh, they are kind of a couple.
At 12:30 at night.
Wow.
Oh, so just when you were getting up?
just when I was really getting in my groove for the day. And I ended up doing, don't panic, Eric, The Possession, but not that one. The 2012 Possession.
Hi.
Hey.
You're late.
Kiddo. Ready to go? I'll have him back Sunday after lunch.
Just healthy food, okay? No pizza?
I'll give you $5 if you don't tell your mother.
Make it 35. Idea. Dad, you need dishes. Dad, look, I'm a lady. Cool. Daddy, can I get this?
Whatever you want, kiddo. There's something in there. Well, that's weird. There aren't any seams.
What does that mean?
I think whoever made this didn't want anybody to open it.
Are you okay? You feel funny.
Have you noticed anything odd with Emily?
No.
Why is the box so important to you?
Don't know. Just is.
Slow down. Em. Slow down! I have no idea what I've got here.
Hebrew inscriptions. It says Dybbuk.
And where are you?
It's the Hebrew word for demon.
What does this thing want with my daughter?
The spirit is the taker of children.
Mommy, who am I?
Once the box is open, people die.
Doctors, they can't help us, can they?
In the refuge of the Most High, I will trust in Him. Beneath His wings
his truth.
I saw something in her.
I don't know if I know this one.
Okay, I vaguely remember this.
Yeah. So it could easily have skipped you by. The poster is extremely generic. The plot seems very generic. It's got this kind of demonic presence, family being slowly taken over kind of theme, right? We've seen that a million times before.
Sure.
This particular film on Rotten Tomatoes has a 39% critics, 48% audience. I think that's actually a little harsh, but I think it makes sense because during that time, so many of these films were coming out that it definitely probably got lost amongst a sea of these like new kind of low budget with recognizable people, like films that were just coming out in waves. Budget was 14 million, box office 82.9.
Whoa.
Not too shabby.
Not bad at all. I don't know what the context for that is, but obviously did very well. You can currently stream it on Amazon for free, although the copy, I will say, is kind of grainy. So I was sort of
Really?
surprised. Yeah, I was surprised about that. I was like, why is this so grainy, you guys? And like the darks are very dark. That might be on purpose, but it felt like a bad transfer situation. Produced by Sam Raimi.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so we actually do have somebody who kind of cares involved. So that's exciting. Directed by Orr Bourne, who I hadn't really heard of before. He wrote an 1864 miniseries. He was behind Night Watch, The Substitute. I'm not sure which one. And he's done a shit ton of German or Danish stuff. It sounded very German from the names, but he's from he's Danish, so I can't say for sure. That was about all I could find on him. The writer, it's very confusing. I think it's a writing team, Juliet Snowdown and Styles White, who we've kind of come across before from The Knowing, Ouija, Untitled Bermuda Triangle project that is coming out at some point. They're all in kind of the same films. So I think they must be working together. Again, didn't find a lot of info about them. So this is clearly like it's kind of up and coming people or people with not a lot of projects behind them.
Was this an oddly budgeted Blumhouse film?
It feels like a Blumhouse, but it's pre-Blumhouse. Yeah, it's. I mean, I
Should've
say
been
that.
like Dark Castle or something. It's Raimi's company.
I think something along those lines. The actors, the dad, the guy who plays the dad walked on screen. I was like, hey, it's got Javier Bardem in it. It does not have Javier Bardem. It's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I'll watch him in
so
anything.
Good. I mean, I hadn't seen a lot because I didn't see Supernatural, or I haven't seen much of it. I guess he started off in Grey's Anatomy. I have seen some of him in Walking Dead, but I already read the comics, so I wasn't like wowed. But yeah, I didn't realize he's also the comedian in Watchmen, which is freaking amazing. I really enjoyed him in this film. You also have Kira Sedgwick, who plays Stephanie, his ex-wife.
Nice.
She was in Born on the 4th of July, Something to Talk About, Singles, and a lot of episodes of The Closer.
She was the closer.
Is she the closer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have not. And I guess she's in some of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, she's been around for a while. I haven't personally seen her in a lot, but enough to be like, you look familiar.
She's married to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Is she really?
They've got like the cutest marriage in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They're so loving to each other.
Oh,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. She played a very, exactly as you'd expect her to play. She didn't do a bad job, but I wasn't like blown away by her performance necessarily. Then we have two daughters played by Madison Davenport, who plays the older daughter, Hannah, who's very much like the kind of young teen girl going through young teen stuff of being a little bit bitchy and really wanted to be on the dance team and all that kind of junk and being annoyed with her parents all the time. You might recognize her from an episode of Black Mirror, in which she played a character named Jack. She was in the Sharp Objects miniseries, Kingdom Hearts. I guess she does the voice of Nameless Star. She's in I didn't know they had a Dusk Till Dawn TV series. She's in 30 episodes of that. Lots and lots of one-off episodes, and I guess Noah. But when you see her, I was like, man, I know this girl from something. And I still can't say exactly what it is, but she's incredibly recognizable now. She's very young looking in this. And then the younger daughter is played by Natasha Callis, who plays the daughter M. She's the young, sweet, very loving daughter who's just adorable in every way. Just really cool kid. You're just really rooting for. She's a vegetarian and makes these really fun, big, like stop the killing signs, but in a cute way. She has been around for a little bit as well. She did 24 things already, including something that I've been subjected to from my niece and nephew plenty, Dinosaur Train. She plays Leslie Lesothoris. Also 19 episodes of the TV series The Firm. And Barbie presents Thumbelina.
That show again, The Firm.
I know. What is it? I wonder if it's any good. I don't think it's still going, is my guess. And then last but not least, I actually didn't write him down until I started researching the film. There's a guy who plays a rabbi in this movie named Sadok. And it's played by this guy named Matisha Yu. This was his film debut.
I am not alone anymore.
It's a very Jewish name that I am not pronouncing correctly. He's like a big time musician. He's like mixes pop rap with.
Are you saying Matis Yahoo?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Matis Yahoo. That is exactly what I'm saying. Do you know who this is?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't buy your pronunciation of his name.
Well, he's done 5 albums and 2 remixes.
Right.
Yeah, no. So this is him acting in it. The first scene you see him in, he's sat on a stairway listening to some headphones, probably listening to his own music. I didn't pick up on any of that because I had no idea who he was.
Douchey.
But he's been cool. So the story goes, divorced father, or at least in the process, is trying to rebuild a relationship / maintain a relationship with his 2 girls during a pretty tumultuous time. He's moved into a new house. The wife has a boyfriend who's not quite live-in, but he's there an awful lot. He's started to buy a little sign that's like, take off your shoes for the house, and really pisses off not Javier Bardem. So he's got a brand new house and he takes his girls to for the weekend. Of course, does the dad stuff of feeding them pizza when they're not supposed to have pizza, and does all the things that he was told explicitly not to do, but he wants to be the cool dad.
Sure.
Next day, they're driving around and they spot a yard sale where one of the daughters, the older one, insists he needs some dishes. So he's like, all right, fine, get some freaking dishes. All right, let's do this. So they get out, and there, the younger daughter, M, becomes really enamored with this sort of wooden box with writing on the side. It looks really big, kind of interesting. I was like, I don't know what's up. If I was that age, I probably wouldn't be that into this box, but that's cool. And she's like, can I get this? And he's like, yeah, we're getting whatever you want, girls. Just grab whatever you want and we'll get it in the car. Really good acting, by the way. His dad acting is freaking spot on.
Yeah, he's pretty good in Supernatural as a dad.
I'll get to that show eventually. Now, once she gets that wooden box, strange things start to happen. It kind of starts to whisper at her. She manages to pry it open in the middle of the night, and there's this dead stuff in there. There's a tooth and a moth and a dead moth and some weird stuff in this box. But she thinks it's very cool. And then the moth starts to come alive, and then there's lots and lots and lots of moths. So that's kind of interesting. Basically, what happens is she has released an ancient Jewish demon with severely malicious intentions that slowly takes over her by kind of talking to her and then eventually possessing her. Now, in the meantime, the family already is having its own troubles and is starting to fall apart. The mother is getting custody of the kids after particularly strange encounter with the younger daughter where she kind of slaps herself and then says it's the dad who does it. Yeah, it's crazy because this girl loves her dad and obviously was so cared about her family, wanted her parents not to divorce, and all of a sudden is just receding into herself, like eating crazy amounts of pancakes very quickly. And he's like, dude, you got to stop. You got to stop. And then she stabs him with a fork. So it's like, whoa, what is happening? The encounters with M become increasingly violent. She gets very violent at school. She changes personality pretty significantly. And she has this ring on her finger that she's pulled out of the box. And her finger just gets blacker and blacker. It's gross. I'm like, why hasn't, that's the one bad parenting moment. I was like, somebody needs to take that ring.
Take that finger off the ring. Damn it.
That ring off of your finger because it looks infected. Like it's bad. Eventually, the dad figures out what's going on and he has to kind of bring the family back together to get an exorcism done to bring this Jewish demon out of the little girl. So it does eventually roll around to, I was watching this and I was like, oh my God, if this film doesn't qualify, I'm going to lose my mind. I was like, the family better come together at some point because they do, thank God. So it counted. The film is actually, there's a lot to like in here. The demon is genuinely extremely creepy. And I have since, through the process of being on this podcast, realized I have a real fear of demon movies. At one point, like the little girl, they definitely do a lot of throwbacks to Exorcist. So they take the little girl to a doctor where she gets an MRI. And while doing the MRI, the mom can see the scan, like the live scan of kind of what's happening inside the daughter's body. And this face of a woman is just in there moving around. And it's like, what the heck? There's the very typical thing you see in a lot of Blumhouse now where the daughter starts to puke and she looks inside her mouth and sees some fingers come out. But the way it's done is really eerie. And it is much more effective than any of the other things I've seen. And I think part of that is due to the editing style. I have never seen a film edited like this. They are constantly cutting at the moment of action. So at one point, they go back into the house very early on into the dad's new home, and they enter the entryway and they see all this stuff flying out the kitchen. And he's like, oh my God, somebody's broken in the house. He starts to run up into the kitchen, and whatever it was skitters out through like a doggy door that is just part of the house. Like they don't have a dog. And he's like, I guess we have raccoons. And then hard cut to him like hammering that thing shut. There's a lot of just hard cuts in the middle of near the end of a scene, but not at the end that you would typically see of a scene. And so the flow is really consistent. If it wasn't consistent, it would not work at all. But it feels like it moves at a click and it keeps that tension pretty high this way, but also allows for time to progress. So I really liked the way they did it. Like I said, not Javier Bardem is incredibly, incredibly good. I am going to seek out a lot more of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He just does a great job in this. And the other thing is, somebody came on board. Bornadell said that this script was an allegory for divorce rather than a horror film. But I think actually this is a great allegory for coming of age, for girls coming of age, because the young girl goes from being this sweet, perfect, innocent child to complicated and mean and destructive outside and inside. And I just was like, man, it feels so natural, but obviously unnatural at the same time. And the parents are having a hard time distinguishing that it is like a demonic presence because it's a young girl with parents who are divorcing. So sometimes people don't take well to that.
Sometimes.
Things I don't like. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Some people like it, I'm sure. Things to dislike about this film. The wife at one point turns against the dad very quickly and very suddenly in a way that made almost no sense. Like she basically put a restraining order on him out of pretty much nowhere. She went from being like, oh, maybe I do still love you and maybe we shouldn't break up. And remember this one good time we had together, to don't even look at me. Don't come anywhere near my children. Blah, 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 blah. Like screaming at him in a courthouse. I was like, whoa, you guys, this is hard to like this character when you do shit like this. Also, they do not understand at this point how the internet works. So he goes to like look at online like exorcisms, and nowadays we go to probably YouTube or some fake version of YouTube. He goes to Vimeo. I was like, okay, that's a choice. I mean, are these like documentaries? Like really like thought through? Did you have to get a password? Are these screener copies? All right. And then like he also like prints off these like strange art. It's pretty funny. He basically Googled how to do an exorcism and then printed it off on paper to like take to his daughter. It's pretty cute. And the box, when it starts to talk, it has a very irritating voice that I did not enjoy. The trivia, I do kind of like the trivia. There's not a lot on this movie, but what there is very common, I feel like, with films talking about demons and God and all these things. We've seen them before, but the owner of the Dybbuk box, or Dybbuk box? Dybbuk box, thank you, is a guy named Jason Haxton, and he offered to send it to Sam Raimi, who was interested in it, but also super reluctant. Raimi told E! Weekly, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm scared of the thing. He was raised in a conservative Jewish home, and he said, you don't hear about Dybbuk, is that right? Mm-hmm. When you go to synagogue. I know the demonic lore of The Exorcist, but what does my faith believe about demonic possession? The stories chill me to the bone. Jeffrey Dean Morgan felt the same. In research, I started to get creeped out. My girlfriend was like, let's just make sure we don't actually go near the box. Quote unquote, we were all like, hell no, recalls screenwriter Juliet Snowden. We don't want to see it. Don't send us a picture of it. Like they were like, we don't. And then the director, Ol Bornadal, said some really weird things happened. I've never stood underneath a neon light before that wasn't lit that all of a sudden exploded. Apparently there was a couple of strange things that happened on set. And he said the worst thing was 5 days after we wrapped the movie, all the props were burned. The storage house in Vancouver burned down to the ground, and the fire department does not know the cause. I'm not superstitious, but I would like to say, it's just a coincidence, but fun fact, demons speaking Polish. It's very exciting. The tagline for the film is Pray for Her. Premiered at Fright Fest. Filmed partly in a mental institute. And that's pretty much all the fun things I have to talk about this movie.
I remembered as you were talking about this that I actually saw this in the theater.
Did you?
And I liked it, but I didn't remember it being called The Possession. So I wonder if it had another title.
It very well could have. It's a weird, I mean, there are so many films called The Possession that even looking up facts about this film was like a chore.
It makes me wonder if I saw it under the name Dybbuk box or the Dybbuk.
Something like that. Yeah.
But I remember kind of liking this movie, not being blown away by it, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is easy on the eyes for sure. He's very charismatic. I mean, when he's on screen, you're just like, I can't stop watching this guy.
I think the thing I loved about his performance and also his character, which was really well written, was that he does all the things you would do. He like reacts exactly how you should react. Like when his daughter starts to act very strange, he's like, hey, honey, like talk to me about is everything okay? Like he's not ignoring it. He's not being ignorant, and he's not being like, I don't know, like big headed about it in the way that you get a lot of dads who just like plow through the situation like that's stupid, or I don't know, aggressive their way through. Like he's very loving. And when she mentions, oh yeah, the box talks to me, he doesn't like freak out. He just goes, okay, what is it telling you? Can I talk to the box? And it's just a really like, everything feels very authentic. And I think that really works to this film's credit. Now, I won't say this is an amazing film. It feels very like I've seen this film 8 million times, but it did stand out. It did feel like it had some really unique, interesting things to it. And I didn't hate that I watched it.
Yeah, I'd imagine, especially with Possession, very, very famous film.
Yes.
With reams of stuff written about it. It's a lot of digging to find something on.
I did have a moment where I was like, which one? Like I went through like 4 different ones. It was recommended to me last minute. Shockingly.
Well, cool. For my choice, I went back to a film that I remember not loving, but I wanted to see again, and this seemed like a good opportunity for that. So from 2019, Brightburn.
Whatever you've done, I know there is good inside you.
Who am I? You are a gift. I know it's been difficult for you lately that you feel different from other kids. You are different. After your dad and I got married, we prayed for a baby for so long. One night, someone listened. Brandon? You are special. We believe that you came here for a reason. He was in the barn.
Did he find it?
No. It was like he was drawn to it.
He may look like us. He's not like us.
That's right. I forgot you were doing this.
This had a budget of $6 million and a box office of $33 million worldwide. Rotten Tomatoes critics has it at 58% and the audience has it at 67%. It was directed by David Yurovsky, who directed The Hive and the upcoming Night Books, which looks kind of creepy. And it was written by Brian and Mark Gunn, who are a writing team that have written Journey to, the number 2, The Mysterious Island, which is the sequel to Journey to the Center of the Earth or whatever with The Rock.
Yeah.
They also wrote Bring It On Again and are the brothers of James Gunn, who produced this film.
Oh, sure.
It stars Elizabeth Banks, who you would know from The Hunger Games, Slither, and 90 other things. David Denman, who played Roy in The Office, and Skip in the series Angel, and has 72 other credits, including that shitty Greenland movie we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Who's he in Greenland?
I think he's the asshole who steals the kid.
Oh,
yeah.
That's rough.
And then Jackson A. Dunn, who is the little boy. He was in Shameless, Gone Are the Days, and Avengers Endgame, where he plays a young Scott Lang when they do the time travel sequence and he shows up as a kid. So Elizabeth Banks and David Denman play a couple who want a kid but are having trouble conceiving. But right there at the beginning of the movie, their wish seems to come true when a spaceship crashes in the woods, and the couple discovers a mysterious baby boy who they then decide to raise. They name him Brandon. And we jump forward in time through the use of credits, and we see pictures of him growing up as a very normal little boy and everything. A little weird looking, but, what kid isn't? And we then join the story again as he is coming into puberty. He's like 12 years old or something like that. He seems to be the greatest kid ever. Tori and Kyle, who are Elizabeth Banks and David Denton, they seem very, very happy with their little boy. However, puberty is a bitch, and he begins to change, and he starts sleepwalking. And he starts sleepwalking to the barn where his spaceship is locked under the barn floorboards. And keep in mind, he does not know that he arrived on Earth in a spaceship. So he's sleepwalking here, and he's standing above where the spaceship is, but he is kind of like mumbling in an alien language, and the spaceship is kind of glowing underneath the floorboards. It's all very, very creepy. He kind of starts turning into a typical boy hitting puberty, which is a real shit. Yeah, I mean, he's just an asshole little kid. Unfortunately, he is also coming into like superpowers, basically. And that spells, disaster for this family. In one scene, he's mowing the lawn and the lawnmower is not starting for him, and he's yanking on the cord. And at one point, he yanks on the cord so hard that the lawnmower just goes flying across the yard. And he wanders towards it. Now, I don't know what kind of shitty, not up to code lawnmower this is, but it's lying on its side and the blade is still spinning. Ow. And he just gets this fascination with it and starts reaching for it. It's really an uncomfortable scene. Yeah. And then, boom, the blade hits his hand and breaks. And he's starting to kind of look around like, the fuck is going on with me? I love jerking off. And I have super strength.
Jesus.
We never see him jerk off.
Thank God for that.
Jesus.
He does have a bit of a crush on this girl in his class, though, and he ends up sneaking into her room in a very creepy scene. While his family is out camping, he suddenly is able to appear in her room, and she is, as you might imagine, highly distressed. She thinks he's a little creepy anyway, but he's acting very creepy, and he's in her room, and she calls for her mom, and of course he's gone when the mom gets there. And of course he's got an alibi because he's been out camping with his family, so there's no way that he could have been there. The next day at school, though, they're doing this weird trust exercise in gym class where everybody's kind of like falling into their friend's arms and stuff like that. And he falls back, and the girl is supposed to catch him, but she doesn't. And she, in fact, calls him a pervert in front of the class, and he's feeling really uncomfortable. And the gym teacher, who is also a bit of an asshole here, makes her help him up. And when she does that, he takes her hand and he just mangles it, crushes it just by squeezing it too tight. And so he receives a 2-day suspension for this, but the girl's mother makes a big, huge scene and wants him arrested. Then that night, I mean, now the parents are starting to freak out. The relationship between the mom and dad, the husband and wife, is just perfect. Let me say, I went into this movie hating it, and I came out of this movie this time really enjoying it. I thought it really worked, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But what worked for me a lot in this was the relationships. Mom and dad feel like real people. Mom is absolutely doting on her baby boy, and he can do no wrong. Dad loves his child, but he's starting to think there might be something wrong with him. And they have found some stuff like in between his mattress. You might pull out, when we were kids, you might pull out a Sears catalog. What's he doing with this? What they pull out is a very uncomfortable collection of images of like, you might find at a doctor's office that is showing the exposed organs of, a human and how they look with no skin and things like this. And And dad is looking at this and he's like, what the fuck is this all about? I mean, he's like, I would have loved to have found a Playboy in here.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would have made me feel like everything's going normal. And in fact, he does have a very uncomfortable talk with his son and says, hey, it's okay. You get urges, stuff like that. And the kid is kind of like, okay. He's like, if you masturbate, that's fine. And the kid's like, all right. So
are you using this?
So even the relationship between dad and kid feels very good too, because the kid is a shitty little teenager that he's coming into, but he doesn't seem like a bad kid. He just seems like he's going through puberty and everybody goes crazy. That night, though, after the crushing the hand incident, he sleepwalks to the storage or to the barn again, and he manages to break the lock of the chain, and Mom comes wandering out to try and find him. She finds him hovering in the air above the open doorway to his spaceship, and he's like completely out of it and speaking in this weird word and all of this stuff. He keeps repeating take, which is kind of creepy. And we'll find out what that means shortly. Mom wakes him up while he's hovering here and he falls onto the ship, and she kind of has to explain to him, hey, this is what happened. We found you in this ship 13 years ago, and we have raised you like us. We love you. You have always been our son. So he does not take this very well, though, and thinks, that everybody's been lying to him, and he lashes out and destroys all the family photos and all that stuff, and basically says, I hate you all. Which is typical bullshit for a kid, except that, he's got super strength. Yeah. So it's a little scary. He then goes to the diner where the girl's mom works, and she's closing up and everything, and he ends up terrorizing her and killing her in a fairly gruesome manner with some eye trauma that went on way too fucking long, that made me actually I kept saying to myself, okay, and I kept kind of like looking down, good. I sure like this scene to end. But him killing her kind of sets off this series of events. It's kind of the point of no return for him. He's become a murderer, and now he's trying to cover up this murder by murdering other people who are starting to suspect him. The movie starts falling apart here because it's moving too fast for how evil he's becoming, and it's just like, shit. At some point you want him to kind of look back on this and go, what am I doing? And I think the writers are kind of saying, look, this isn't even completely him. He's kind of in a trance when he's doing these things, and it's like his alien heritage is kind of taking over, because he does seem genuinely bothered when he actually thinks about this stuff. But in the moment, he's all lizard brain. So when he kills people, and the gore in this is pretty graphic, he just kind of looks at them and studies them and seems kind of fascinated by it. He ends up killing his uncle in a scene that's pretty creepy. It's got some humor in it too, but at the end of it, he lifts the uncle's truck up into the air, flies up into the air, and drops the truck, nose first into the street, from about 20 feet up, which, as you can imagine, does a lot of damage to the human body. And they show it in this. So now Mom and Dad are super concerned for Brandon, but Dad is also starting to suspect that he's responsible for these killings. Mom, of course, not having any of it, but their relationship is a super strong relationship. And so she's like, you're being silly. It's none of this, this is tearing us apart. Oh, it's we have to work to save our family unit and all of this stuff. So she's sticking up for him all the time. And I think this is where the film really succeeds in showing how much a mom will go to bat for her kid, which is sometimes pretty dangerous. But it's also super believable. We see it all the time in all of these shitty things we're seeing, the incidents of school kids and sure, and all of that shit. But everybody, even the kid, still loves Mom and Dad. He's just going through all of his shit. So Dad takes the kid on a camping trip and a hunting trip, and it feels like it's a genuine attempt to bond, but he suddenly finds himself with the opportunity to shoot his own child. And the kid is looking at a track, and the dad's got the gun in his hand, and you can just see it all over his face. The acting in the scene is heartbreaking because you can see that he's like, I should kill this kid before he becomes too powerful. And he does. He takes the gun, he sights on his kid's head, and he pulls the trigger, and it doesn't kill him. The bullet bounces off his head. But the look on the kid's face when he turns around, like he just realized, did you just try to kill me? And that's heartbreaking too. I mean, that scene was just like hard on me to watch this time. And then he, of course, kills his dad and goes after his mom. So the last act is mom being hunted at the family home by her son. And it's a fairly believable set of scenes, and it's really creepy because he's so fucking powerful. He's basically Superboy, Yeah. And so I guess the reason the movie worked for me this time, well, first I'll talk about when I first saw it in the theater. I was super disappointed. And I thought that the idea of Superman showing up on Earth and what he might have turned out to be if he hadn't been raised by Mom, Pa Kent, and given him this core set of values that made him want to be a good person, you might end up with this shitty kid. And that idea is amazing, and that's not what's happening here, because this kid is being raised by Mom and Pa Kent. They're really good people who have loved him and treated him, so great and all of this stuff, and he suddenly becomes this little shit. Now, unfortunately, that part is believable because, I mean, we've all had nieces and nephews and and some of the people listening, I'm sure, have sons and daughters who at a certain point in their life, they were probably like, you know what? I love you, but I do not like you very much. So this time it worked for me because instead of looking at it as a failed origin of a superhero, I started looking at it as the origin of a psychopath. And, if you've got something broken in your mind, you can get all the love in the world and you still will be a little bit broken. And that actually, going into it with that mindset, I thought the film worked really well. Now, I thought the pacing was a little off because he goes from kind of a shitty little kid to a murderer, to a mass murderer very quickly. And I would have liked this film to have gone from a shitty little kid to a murderer to someone who, as he moves on at the end of the movie, we can see he might become a mass murderer. I just felt like the pacing was way too rushed. But I did really, really enjoy it this time, which was, I was surprised.
Nice.
That is super. I mean, this is a film that I've severely disliked, but I definitely came from the viewpoint of it's a good movie, but it's completely unenjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I think when I first watched it, unlike you, I wasn't looking at it as a failed parenting film. I knew it was going to be like, what if he didn't come from a planet where Superman would have come from, but from like a bug colony or something. And so I felt like that made sense, but it was such a dark-natured, bad-natured film as far as just like tonally. Like there's not a lot of positivity in it.
No, like you were talking about how you'd like to have a moment of humor
or something,
but there is no humor.
Yeah. And I actually had said I'll never ever rewatch this film, but maybe I will at some point, because what you're saying, I mean, it definitely is more interesting, I think, on a second time through, if you know what's about to happen with all the horrific gore and lashing out and all that. So maybe I would get more out of it this time, but it was rough. It was so hard to sit through.
It is. But I think that's kind of a credit to the filmmakers in that you're really rooting for the parent to win. If not in changing the direction of their homicidal child, in at least surviving
Yeah, exactly.
And that is not where this movie goes. So, but it's interesting you said like the planet that's a bug colony because in class when he's describing this one thing, he's like fascinated with wasps, and he starts talking about how they're more aggressive than regular bees, and they work in groups to attack. And that one species forces other insects to raise its young. In my first viewing, I just, glossed over this scene in class. And now I was like, oh, this is what his alien did. They've said, hey, raise our kid because he's going to take over your planet shortly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was something that I remember watching and really catching on to and really being like, oh God, he's like an evil bug alien guy.
Right.
And that's why all the humanity just gets sapped out of him and he just becomes like a conqueror being, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's clear that's where this is going to go. I don't think the film was received well enough to warrant a sequel.
Oh my God, please don't make a sequel.
But I sure would have liked to have seen like this continue in a series of books or something like that.
Is it a DC?
No,
branded?
it's just it's a standalone thing. There's a lot of superhero tropes in this that you're going to see that they kind of twist and everything. But one of the most obvious is the kid's name is Brandon Breyer, which follows superhero conventions of, Clark Kent, Peter Parker, that kind of shit. Bruce Banner. One little bit of trivia that I thought was kind of fun is at the very end, over the end credits, is Michael Rooker playing a YouTube conspiracy theorist who's talking about all this other shit that's going on. And he's comparing the footage of the mysterious Brightburn character to other mysterious figures that he has, and he's showing these pictures on grainy images on the back of his screen. So he's talking about a sea creature that's turning over a boat, which is clearly an Aquaman thing, a witch strangling people with ropes, which is a Wonder Woman kind of thing, and then what I did love was at the very end was an image of the Crimson Bolt, which was Rainn Wilson's character from James Gunn's movie Super. And I was like, oh, I love it because he's kind of like a very bad version of Batman. And I thought, well, here we go. We've got a very evil Justice League here, or an Injustice League, as Harley Quinn would call it.
Man, I don't want to be a part of this alternative universe. I'll tell you that. It sounds very bad.
Yeah, I did just walk away with a completely new understanding of the film and appreciation for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was wondering if DC, because I always thought we need to get darker and grimmer. All right, well, they went for it with this one.
This is dark and grim for sure. Well, all right, that's all of it. Whose choice is it next?
I believe it is my choice.
I believe it is yours.
You are correct.
Yes. And so since we're coming up on Valentine's Day, I thought that we should keep it within the Valentine's Day-y theme. And let's go ahead and go with gifts from the heart. Nice or not so nice gifts in presumably horror films.
So does it have to be a physical gift? Is this or is this also a gesture of
Man, that's a great question. I mean, I guess it could be a grandiose gesture, but I mean, it would be nice. I mean, I don't know what kind of a gesture wouldn't involve some format of gifting.
That's true. That's true. But we're kind of keeping this to like romantic.
Yes.
So it's
it should be like
obsession.
romantically intentioned.
Right.
Yes.
So
Cool.
Brightburn killing the mom of the girl he has a crush on, that's kind of a romantic gesture, right?
Absolutely. If he was doing it in a way that was meant to be a romantic gesture.
Yeah, with this kid, you just can't tell.
Please don't do Brightburn again.
Okay, I like that. And that's what we will be talking about next week. As usual, thank you to all the people who are liking and sharing the posts. Eric, have you gotten a 5-star review lately?
Not that I've seen, but I haven't checked in a little bit. So.
It could be that the show has sucked a lot lately.
Yeah,
so.
could be, yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, we understand.
That's on us, I guess. But for everybody else who's saying the kind words and typing the nice things, a big, big thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to us through these trying times and being a part of our family.
All right. Now, everybody, go home.
All right. Bye.
Probably are there anyways, but all right.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine